Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna start a new story. What if Naruto was the Demon Warrior Part 1? If you enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
In the village of Konoha, it was a beautiful day. A day that anyone could really enjoy. A day when the young children who ran around the village streets could and should laugh with joy. At least for every child except one. A small child who was never accepted by the other kids because he was different. A little boy with blonde hair that stuck up in spikes and the bluest eyes anyone had ever seen. He has 3 whisker marks on each cheek. His red ponytail was held back by a small black hair tie. This was another thing that made him different from other kids. He looked at himself in the mirror with a frown on his face. He was only 5 years old. The little boy had always known that he was different from other kids. His father told him that just because he wasn't like other kids didn't mean he wasn't the same as them. The little boy opened his door and sighed softly as he made his way to the stairs and then to the kitchen of the restaurant that his father owned. He looked around and saw that his dad wasn't in the kitchen. He might have been in the back. Maybe he'll meet someone today. After all, his father didn't want him to leave the restaurant because people in the village didn't treat him fairly. The little boy looked around and didn't see his father, which made it easier for him to get away. He wanted to go outside and play with other kids his age. That would be great for him because he would finally have a friend. The young boy walked out of the restaurant and through the streets, grinning from ear to ear. He was hoping someone would be out here so he could play with them. When the little boy looked around the street, he was surprised to see that no one was there yet. It was strange that no one was around, but I thought it might be because no one was awake yet. But he hoped that at least one person was awake right now. The little boy started to frown a little and think that maybe he should just go home. Why would anyone want to play with him? Before he knew it, someone grabbed him by his ponytail. The little boy yelped in pain as he felt someone pull and throw him into a wall. He grimaced in pain and fell on his back. When he looked up, he saw 3 boys who were only a few years older than him. Guys, look what we've got. It's the village freak. Naruto thought the boy in the middle was the group's leader because he was talking. But, my name is Naruto, the little boy said with a frown. Shut up, you crazy person. What are you doing? I thought your daddy didn't let you out. Thought he had the weirdo locked up. The boy on the right said this. Before Naruto could say anything else, the boy on the left kicked him in the head, making the little boy cry out in pain as he fell to the ground. The little boy with red and blonde hair shook his head and tried to get back up, but one of the other 3 boys slammed his heel into Naruto's spine, which made him cry out in pain again. Why are you hurting me? Naruto asked as he tried to get up again. Why was this taking place? He expected to be called names, but he didn't expect to be beaten up like this. Naruto didn't think something like that could happen to him. He tried to stop it and did everything he could. But what could he do? His father told him not to do the only thing he could do because it would hurt him more than it should for someone his size. The boys laughed at him, and the leader of the group came up to Naruto as he spoke. Because you're not a regular freak. Everyone knows you don't belong here. We're going to do something that adults are too scared to do. We're going to kill you. After saying that, he kicked Naruto in the face, which made the little boy fall on his back. Naruto cried out in pain as blood shot out of his nose. He had never felt this much pain in his life. It was terrible, and he wouldn't wish it on anyone, no matter what they had done to him. But he didn't think it could get any worse. When he looked up from the ground, the boys were kicking him in the ribs, the back, and the face. Naruto was afraid he was going to die. He was going to die at the age of 5. Slowly blinking, he whispered, "Daddy, help me." Around that time, he began to pass out. There was nothing but darkness around him. He couldn't get out of this situation, and maybe he was already dead, but just didn't know it. Maybe he got this because he didn't listen to his father. He had no idea. Naruto, someone yelled, which made the little boy frown in surprise. He didn't know who could be calling him, but as the voice kept yelling for him, he could understand it better and better. He felt a great sense of calm come over him. How did this even happen? Naruto slowly opened his eyes, and when he looked into his father's worried eyes, "Oh my God, Naruto, are you okay? God bless you, you're okay. I thought you were gone." "Dad, what went wrong?" Naruto asked in a whisper. "You passed out and..." His father stopped for a moment, almost as if just saying it would hurt him. Naruto was worried about what was happening, but he knew he had to find out. "Naruto, you started attacking those boys." Naruto's eyes grew wide with surprise and fear. How could he have? "No, you didn't kill them, but the healer will take care of them. Promise me you won't fight, Naruto. This happened because of that. Just run and run fast. Never fight again." For a moment, Naruto just looked at his father. He knew he couldn't just keep running, but maybe his father was right. If he attacked someone just because they were fighting with him, it could happen again. He didn't want anyone to get hurt. He was very scared by the thought of it. Naruto took a small breath and nodded as he said, "Okay, Dad. I will no longer fight. I don't want anyone to get hurt." Naruto didn't want to keep those words, even though he said them. His father was the one person he wanted to keep safe. How could he make sure that his father was safe without a lot of trouble? He didn't want to break his only real promise, but there wasn't much else he could do. Naruto let out a small groan as his head hit the floor. The young man rubbed his head and sighed softly as he closed his blue eyes. "Stupid dream," said the man with blonde hair as he rolled over and got to his feet. The young man ran his hand through his blonde, spiky bangs before reaching over to his side table and getting his black hair tie and brush. But he didn't know what to expect today. What else should a 25-year-old expect to begin with? The young man walked over to his mirror and brushed his waist-length red hair. He didn't look like his dad, but he didn't know why. At the same time, he didn't care. No one ever doubted it to begin with. The young man looked at himself in the mirror and shook his head. He was tall for a man and didn't have a lot of muscle because he helped his dad lift heavy things, but he was much stronger than people thought. Naruto closed his eyes and concentrated as he frowned at his reflection. He also didn't want to pay attention to what he saw in the mirror. When he opened his eyes again, he saw that he was still looking at what was different about him. Behind him were 9 orange tails that waved. He had orange fox ears on his head, as well as fangs and claws. It showed that he wasn't like the other people. People only feared this one thing about him. He was different, so he knew he wasn't like them, no matter how much he tried to say otherwise. The young man took a deep breath and realized that this sometimes happened in the morning. He would change into his fox form when he was sleeping, and he was glad that no one but his father saw him like this. He had to be careful, though, because there were other ways for him to change, even though he tried to keep that secret when he was at home. No need to make people afraid of him. Soon, his fox parts went away, leaving him with a completely human look. He went to his closet and took out an orange shirt and a pair of black shorts. After that, he went to get his blue shoes with no toes and then went down the stairs. When he got to the bottom, he told his father, "Hey, I'm ready to work." A tall man with brown hair pulled up in a high, spiky ponytail turned around at the counter. His nose was scarred, and his brown eyes sparkled with happiness. As he said, he wore a simple white shirt and blue pants. "Hey Naruto, are you okay? You seem to be having a bad dream." Naruto knew he couldn't really keep anything from his dad, not that he wanted to. Naruto said with a shaky laugh, "It's nothing bad, Dad. I promise. So, what do you want me to do today?" He didn't want his father to worry too much about him. Being a single parent was hard enough for the man. He didn't need to worry about his son, who was a demon, too. His dad smiled and then gave Naruto a package, which made him look down and make a small frown. "Do you want me to take something somewhere, Dad?" "You sure?" "Of course, I trust you completely, son." His father laughed and said. A customer yelled, "Hey, Aruka, where are my noodles?" Before he went to take care of some of the orders that were coming in, Aruka shook his head. He told his son to put on his apron and start serving when he was done with the package. Naruto left the restaurant and walked down the street after nodding his head. Since no one liked him, he didn't see much point in delivering anything for his dad. Everyone either hit him or slammed doors in his face. He had been called a monster, which was the worst thing that had happened to him. Some people knew what he was, and because of that, they were afraid of him, even though they didn't seem to dislike his dad at all for raising him. If that was true, they wouldn't be able to eat his famous noodles. Naruto himself liked the food very much. When Naruto looked around the village, he saw that some people would stare at him. He wanted to hit them for the way they looked at him, but he knew he couldn't. It would make his father sad, and Aruka would know that Naruto didn't listen to him. When he made that promise as a child, he said he wouldn't fight anyone. When he went out by himself, he went to the forest to work on his strength. He didn't want to hurt anyone with his great strength, so he tried to control it so he wouldn't hurt anyone. Because of this, when people tried to hit him, he usually just pushed them away hard enough to give himself room to run, but not hard enough to hurt them. Naruto looked at the sky and saw that it was a nice day for a walk. He could maybe go to the forest and train there. After all, he was stronger, so if anyone tried to steal from his father, he could stop them. Naruto thought, if I can protect my dad's store, maybe people will start to respect me. Then he frowned and said, then again, maybe they'll just confirm that I'm a monster. He let out a soft sigh and then walked over to the house and knocked on the wooden door. Naruto couldn't see who he had to give this to because the door was only cracked open. Hi, my dad, Aruka, told me to bring this to you. The person didn't answer right away, and Naruto could only see a strange eye looking at him, which made him gulp. Whoever it was, it made him feel uneasy. Will you take it? The person grabbed the package with their gloved hand and told them to wait there. After that, the door shut for a moment, which made Naruto think that the guy, if it was a guy's voice he heard, might be getting something to throw at him. That made him a little nervous, but he knew he had to be ready for whatever came his way. Before he could think about it more, the door opened and the gloved hand with the small pouch reached out again. He opened his eyes wide and asked, "What is that?" "This is what you get for bringing it to me. Your father wasn't asking for much." Okay, this was strange. When he made deliveries for his dad, people didn't usually pay him directly. Usually, they would just throw the money at him and tell him to take it and get out of here. They would then slam the door in his face. "Your dad is a nice guy. I didn't think that moving to this village would make me so friendly." After saying that, he shut the door and left Naruto alone to think. That was a bit strange. So, a new guy moved into town. He didn't treat Naruto badly because of who he was, either. Odd. He shook his head and began to walk toward his dad's restaurant. He only wanted to get home as soon as possible before something bad happened to him. The last thing he wanted was to meet up with some guys who thought they could kill the monster of the village. On his way home, Naruto saw some of the guys who were always trying to bother him. With a soft groan, he knew he would have to take a small detour, but he wasn't sure if he could do that without people calling out to the monster as he did it. The young man shook his head and knew he had two options. He could either go around or get his arse handed to him. Go around, he told himself, and then he jumped onto a nearby tree branch. He climbed higher and higher by jumping from branch to branch, and then he ran along the fence toward his dad's restaurant. But what he didn't realize was that someone was watching him from the shadows. Only one thing was being said. "So, it's you. I need to present my report." "Made it." Naruto said this as he jumped over the fence and landed right in front of his dad's restaurant. He thought it would take longer than it did, but at least he was back home. When he looked up toward the mountains, he could see the Crimson Palace. The best warriors lived there. The Furious Five are the best warriors who have learned to harness and control their chakra. It was hard to control that kind of power, and it was even harder not to let it take over. They would never let someone like me in. Normal people are the only ones who can go in. He gave a soft sigh and then started walking inside to help his dad. He wanted more out of life. Maybe something interesting would happen to him at some point. He wanted the same things as everyone else, to find a reason for living, to meet someone, and maybe even to get married and start a family of his own. But would that be enough for him? He didn't believe it at all, because who would want a demon as a husband? Naruto sighed and thought, no one, before he began to take orders. He didn't care about the looks he got from everyone around him. He was just smiling big as he took some orders. Well, that was until someone screamed near the door. When Naruto turned his head, he saw a few men in cloaks and swords walk into the restaurant. He narrowed his eyes a bit and thought about what they wanted. "Stay down, everyone. All we want is the money." One of the people in cloaks spoke up. Naruto stood in front of them with his blue eyes narrowed in anger. Even though he didn't care for anyone in the village, he couldn't let them get hurt. "Oh, look what we've got. Whoever thinks he is a hero." Naruto just let out a small growl that was meant to scare people away. Iruka yelled, "Naruto, don't," because he didn't want his son to get hurt. Naruto had turned to look at his father for a short time, at least until the flat side of the sword hit him, causing him to fall to the ground with a slight groan. "Naruto," Iruka called out as he ran toward his son. "Don't do it, Dad." Naruto yelled as he pushed himself up onto his feet and rubbed his cheek where he had been cut. "You're not going to steal from anyone," Naruto said as he narrowed his eyes. So, Naruto rushed forward, but he knew he had to be careful because he didn't want to hurt them too much. Naruto took off his apron and held his left arm back and his right arm forward. His ring and pinky fingers were pressed against his palm, while his index and middle fingers were just curled and his thumbs were held up straight. He got ready to fight by narrowing his eyes. Even though he had never fought before, he didn't care because he knew his demonic energy would keep him from getting hurt too badly. The men, on the other hand, just laughed and thought that someone like him could beat all of them. "Get him," the leader said, and two of them rushed forward. Naruto didn't even stop to think. He just moved like he was going with the flow. Naruto ducked down as one of the men went to cut off his head, then slammed his fist into the stomach of one of the thieves. He fell over because of how hard it hit him. Then Naruto put his hands on the ground and kicked the other guy in the head, making him fall over. He knew that was pretty easy, but he wasn't going to complain about it right then. Not at that time, anyway. One of the men was able to get up and went to cut Naruto down to size, but the man with the red and blonde hair put up his hand and easily caught the sword. Even though the sword had cut his palm, he didn't act like it hurt or bother him in any way. "Don't you know when to stop?" He said this right before he turned around, kicked the thief in the side of the rib cage, and sent him into a wall. When Naruto got back on his feet, he saw that the leader was running toward him with his sword held high. Before he could do anything, the sword cut his face, making him yell out in pain and shock. Naruto groaned as he fell on his back and felt blood coming out of the new cut on his face. How could he feel that kind of pain in his face? He usually can't feel pain like that, but maybe he wasn't ready for it that time because the leader hadn't done anything. Naruto stood up and growled. He looked like he was ready to kick some serious ass. The leader just looked at them with narrowed eyes and asked, "What are you?" Naruto's answer was, well, easy to understand. "I'm a noodle man." After saying that, he jumped up and kicked the leader out of the restaurant, leaving him out cold. The young man, who was gasping for air, had no idea that a fight could make him feel like this. It was a rush, but he knew he had to be careful. He only wanted to protect his father and his home, so why was he in such a hurry? He didn't know, but he did know that he had done something that no one had ever thought he could do. But what he heard broke his heart. "It's crazy that a monster saved us." Naruto sighed softly and picked up his apron. He then started to walk back into the kitchen to fix it up a bit. Even though he just saved them from thieves, they still thought he was a monster. He shook his head and went to work. Then his father put his hand on his shoulder, and he looked up into his proud eyes. "Hey boy, that was so cool. Son, I'm proud of you. At least, one of them is a dad. Someone is at least." Naruto whispered and then turned his head away. In the meantime, someone had been watching the whole thing. He couldn't believe the boy could do all of that without having any training. The boy was very skilled. His master must have been looking for this boy. Despite that, he wasn't sure. He had to tell him what happened anyway, because if his master was right, the time would soon come when everyone would be in danger. Naruto yawned softly. It had been a few days since the bandits had attacked the restaurant. The young man rubbed his head and sighed softly as he tried to get out of bed. To be honest, he didn't know why he bothered to help people in the first place. People still hated him even after he had saved them from getting robbed, or worse, killed. When he looked at his palm, there was no cut or scar where there should have been one. He was used to it, and any wound or injury he got would just heal and go away. He sighed and pushed himself out of bed. He went to his mirror and brushed his hair before putting it in a ponytail, as he always did. It was what he did every single day. Naruto went downstairs and shook his head. When he got there, he saw that his dad was having trouble with customers. He hurried over, put on his apron, and said, "Hold on, Dad. I'll get the orders." Iruka smiled at his son, Naruto, as if to say thanks, but he couldn't say anything because there were so many orders coming in. Normally, Naruto could easily carry all the extra orders with his tails, but since no one liked touching anything his tails touched, it took a while for them to get used to the fact that he handled the food. The young man grabbed the bowls and put some of them on his hands, arms, and head. He then started to walk over to the tables and put all of the orders on the right tables. Naruto smiled at them and paid no attention to the angry looks and stares he got. After all, what was the point of showing someone that their looks hurt you? It would only show that they were winning with their hate. Naruto yelled when he tripped over someone's foot and fell. When he hit the ground hard, he groaned and rubbed his face. One of the men yelled, "Watch where you're going, you freak," and then laughed. Naruto looked up with a groan. His face was a little red and his nose was bleeding from the fall. Some of the skin on his palms and lower arms was cut by the broken bowls. "Oh, look, the weirdo is bleeding. Maybe he'll cry too." "Shut up, you tripped me," Naruto yelled as he struggled to get back on his feet. Damn it, out of everything they could have done, they had to trip him up. He already had trouble keeping his balance without his tails, and now this. Before he knew it, the same man pushed him, making Naruto yelp and fall on his back again. The fox demon yelled, "Oh," and then let out another groan. How did this keep going on in the first place? The fox demon yelled, "Stop it, damn it." The men just laughed at him, and then one of them slammed his foot into the chest of the other, making Naruto gasp in pain. One of the men yelled, "What are you going to do about it, Fox HM?" Naruto tried to catch his breath as he coughed and wheezed. Why wasn't his father coming out of here? Didn't he notice that she didn't have blonde hair? Damn it, he was about to lose his mind, and he knew he had to stop this before he passed out because he didn't want that to happen again. He didn't want to be seen as a monster because the last time it happened, he almost killed someone. He tried so hard to get people to stop treating him badly like they did when he was a kid, but these guys didn't get the message. Sent, quit it, Naruto wheezed, then screamed when one of their foot slams broke one of his ribs. Iruka yelled, "Naruto," as if he had heard the blonde's loud cry of pain. In fact, Naruto was so close to losing it that his pupils narrowed into slits and started to turn from blue to red as his heart rate increased. His father yelled, "Get away from my son. Didn't you hear what the man said? He told you to leave him alone." At that point, everyone gasped and moved out of the way, making room for a woman to walk through the door of the restaurant. Naruto groaned a little when he heard people talking. It made him wonder who had come to the restaurant, and of course, who would have scared them enough to talk about it. The voice said, "Get away from him right now," making Naruto wonder who it was. Iruka yelled, "Son," as he ran to Naruto's side and held him long enough for the blonde man to sit up. "Dear God, Naruto, are you okay? Why didn't you defend yourself?" "Because you told me to stop fighting," he said. Naruto added with a small laugh, "I only fought yesterday to protect you in the shop." Iruka let out a soft sigh and tried to help Naruto get up, but the fox screamed in pain and put his hands on his chest. "What's going on? He may have broken something." The same voice that stopped the men from beating him up said the new voice. When Naruto looked up with one eye, he saw that it was a woman. The woman rushed toward him, blinking through the pain, and that's when he couldn't help but notice her, or at least what she looked like. She had long, beautiful blue hair that was braided back, and her eyes were pale white with a touch of lavender. She wore a tight light purple vest with flower designs and loose-fitting black pants and slippers that matched. "Let me help, okay?" Naruto tried to remember where he had seen a woman like her before and asked, "Who are you?" He remembered seeing her before, but couldn't remember where. When the woman frowned at him and then smiled, Naruto's heart started beating fast in his chest. He's never seen anyone smile at him like that before. Why did she smile like that at him? He didn't see any fear or hate in her face. All he saw was concern. He couldn't help but wonder if she was looking at him like that because she felt sorry for him or because she was really worried about him. One of the men said in a whisper, "I can't believe Master Hinata is here." Did they just say, Master Hinata? No wonder he thought she looked familiar. Oh my god, he's had a crush on her ever since she became his master. He could still remember that day as if it had happened just yesterday. "I need you to relax, okay? You do have a broken rib, so I'll have to help you by using chakra." "Does he have a place to sit or lie down?" "Follow me, Master Hinata, to his bed," Iruka said before helping Naruto up. Damn it. Even though he got better quickly, it hurt like hell. Was it even getting better to begin with? Once Naruto got to his bed, he laid down and closed his eyes. Master Hinata began to treat his rib. But while she did, he fell asleep and thought about the first time he saw her. Naruto was with his father as they walked down the street. The 14-year-old was pretty normal, but all he wanted was for people to stop staring at him like that one day. Naruto looked around the village while he softly sighed and put his hands in his pockets. Teens were kicking a ball around and having the time of their lives. How about him? He was out with his dad doing errands and, of course, to see who the new masters were. "So, son, I think you need some new clothes while we get things for the shop. I'm sure you get taller every day." Iruka laughed and said. Naruto looked up and smiled at his father. It was nice to get some new clothes, but it would be even better to make some new friends. He was never with anyone else, and he knew that. But he knew it was impossible for him to ever have a friend. To be honest, there was just no point. Naruto just gave his father a smile and said, "That sounds cool, Dad." He always liked the nicer things his dad could buy for him. It was nice to be able to get new things every so often. But he knew that it was hard for them to get money now that he was helping out. But Naruto worked for his dad to give him something to do. He just wanted to help out in any way he could. When the young man took another look around, he couldn't help but wonder what he could do today. He could hear people talking about him and his father as he walked with his father. Why did they even talk about him to begin with? People knew his father wouldn't leave, especially since they had a life here. Even if people didn't want to accept how different he was. He was a devil. Naruto looked up and asked, "Dad, why isn't my mom here?" To tell the truth, it had been bothering him for a very long time. He knew that if his father wasn't a demon, then maybe his mother was. That would make him half demon, but he wasn't sure of that yet. Well, son, you see your mother well, that's hard to explain. Iruka said this with a frown. That was hard to understand, but Naruto thought he knew why he did it. After taking a deep breath, the young teen went back to looking around him. He never understood how this place could have anything good about it, but he wasn't going to complain about anything. Soon, the teen stopped when he felt something hit his foot. When he looked down, he saw a ball next to his foot. He frowned a little and picked it up. When he looked inside, he saw a scared little girl staring at him. Naruto's heart almost broke when he saw a little kid afraid of him even though there was no reason to be afraid of him. As Naruto walked toward the girl, he got down on his knees in front of her and held out the ball. "Take this, is it yours?" Still afraid of him, she could only nod. Yes, this really hurt his feelings. He put the ball on the ground and pushed it toward her with a soft sigh. The little girl just looked at him for a moment, wondering if he was playing a trick on her. He just smiled at her for a second before watching the little girl pick up her toy and run away. With a soft sigh, the little boy got to his feet, ran to his father, and started walking next to him. What are we going to do after? After we get what we need for the shop and meet the masters, we'll clean up the shop, and then I'll show you how to make dumplings. Haruka said this with a big smile. When he thought about it, Naruto smiled. He had always wanted to learn how to make the dumplings that his dad always made. Even though it was a family secret, he couldn't wait to make them. Someone yelled, "Everyone, it's time to meet the masters." Haruka and Naruto both looked over, which made them head toward the village square. Naruto and Haruka made it to the front of the crowd and watched as Grandmaster Jiraiya stood next to another man. Jiraiya was a strange man. He had long, spiky, white hair, and his face was marked with red lines that almost made it look like he was crying bloody tears. He had on a simple red robe and sandals made of wood. Naruto knew that the other man was Hiruzen, the great grandmaster. Hiruzen wore a simple white and red robe that wasn't very fancy, but he was still respected. His short, whitish gray hair was standing straight up, and his beard was the same color. Naruto asked his father, "Who are they?" when he saw 5 teens standing in a straight line. Even though his father was talking, Naruto didn't pay him any mind. No, he looked at the girl in the middle instead. She had short blue hair, a tight vest in a light purple color, black pants, and slippers that matched. Her stand was perfect. It was easygoing, but there was a hint of discipline in it. Naruto had no idea that someone could be so beautiful and still be a warrior like her. Naruto's cheeks were hot, and he could feel his heart beating fast in his chest. If his tails were out, he would move them in a loving way. What was wrong with him? Why did he want to learn more about her? It was great to feel this way, and he didn't want it to go away. At the same time, he knew that she would never feel this way about him. She was a master, and he was a monster that no one wanted to be near or accept. Before he knew it, the masters had bowed to everyone in the village and were heading back up to the Crimson Palace. Before he looked up at his father, Naruto just stared at the place where they used to stand. What will they do with the village, Dad? Why did we get to know them? They look out for us, Naruto. Just keep in mind that protection is what makes real warriors what they are. Is the need to keep people safe, Haruka said with a smile as he and his son started to walk away to finish their errands. Naruto opened his eyes with a soft groan and blinked a few times. He looked around and saw that he was back in his room. When he took another look, he saw that he was the only one there. Damn, I missed her leaving. Naruto moaned and then put his left arm over his face. Hinata was the one person he could have tried to get to know, but he missed the chance. Naruto sighed and got to his feet. He noticed that his ribs didn't hurt as much, but it was hard to tell if that was because he was healing on his own or because Hinata had helped him. When the door opened, Naruto looked over and saw that his dad was coming in. "Oh Naruto, you're awake. God, I was really worried about you." Haruka said this as he ran towards his son and hugged him. "Good God, you had me worried, Naruto. I know you can get better quickly, but I can't believe I didn't hear you sooner." Naruto looked up at his dad and said, "Dad, don't worry. You had to worry about a lot of clients. Don't fret." Haruka stepped back and made a small frown. He looked at his son and was going to say something, but Naruto stopped him. "You worry way too much, Dad. I turned 25 this year. You shouldn't need to be so worried. People will hate me no matter what. No matter what I do, Dad, no one will like me. Even I can't stop myself from getting hurt in this restaurant." Haruka let out a soft sigh and then ran his hand through his spiky ponytail. His son was right, he knew. No one liked him because he was a demon. It didn't matter where he went, people didn't like him. But his son was still happy because he was with his father, which was all that mattered to him. Naruto asked, "So, when did Master Hinata leave?" With a big grin on his face, Haruka just looked at him for a while, as if she was trying to remember when the young woman had left. Haruka seemed to be having trouble remembering until it seemed to finally come back to his father's mind. "She left about an hour ago, so yes, she fixed your ribs, or at least moved them so they could heal right. I want you to give this to her as a way of saying thank you for helping you, Naruto." Haruka said this as she smiled and held out a package. Being able to bring something to Hinata was a dream come true, to be honest. He might be able to talk to her. Oh my god, just the thought of talking to her made his heart beat faster and his cheeks turn red. "I know you're interested in talking to her, son." Haruka laughed and then ruffled his son's spiky blonde hair. Naruto moaned, "Dad," as he took the package from his dad and looked up at him for a second. But what did she say, Dad?" "Not much, just that you should slow down." "Oh, son, there's one more thing I need you to do. I meant to send this package to the Crimson Palace, but I forgot. You can send it for me, right?" Haruka said as she held up another box. Yes, he was officially his father's delivery boy. Naruto took the other package from his father and let out a soft sigh. He then started to leave the restaurant. He was carrying 2 packages, so he hoped no one would bother him. On the other hand, he could avoid people in the village a lot better than at the store. The only thing that really bothered him was that he had never really talked to Hinata. She only went to the village once to run some errands for the palace when the person who usually did them was sick. She was rarely in the village, and from what he'd seen, no one ever really talked to her. Hinata usually kept to herself and didn't get involved in things unless they were important, like what had happened to him. He looked at him with a frown and wondered if Hinata knew who he was. Or maybe she didn't know about him because she lived in the palace for most of her life. Since he wasn't a student there, he had no real way of knowing what went on up there. Not like he could really learn how to fight anyway. He was clumsy and couldn't keep his balance if someone pushed him or even just touched him. Not only that, but he couldn't really control his strength when he was angry. When he looked ahead, he saw those guys again and made a mean face. He would have to move around because there was no way he was going to fight with them. When he looked around, he found a way to get through the village without having to deal with the people there, or at least not to have anything to do with them again. He ran into the alley and looked around to make sure no one was there. He didn't want to do this, but he knew he couldn't let anyone see him. Naruto changed into his fox-like human form when he changed. Naruto used his tails to hold on to the packages while he used his claws to climb up the wall. He did this sometimes when he wanted to avoid people or at least keep from getting his behind handed to him. He knew it was dangerous to keep changing in public like this, but at least this way he could be himself and not have to worry about anything. Before he reached the 1,000 steps, he'd change back. At least he could do that without anyone getting in his way. Not many people go up or down the stairs. Naruto ran as fast as he could along the roofs and jumped from one roof to the next. For others, the orange blur would be all they could see. He couldn't help but wonder what it would be like to live with other demons in a village. He would sometimes dream of a place like that, a whole village full of other fox demons. It was a dream that would never come true, since there was nothing like it. Naruto grabbed a pole and flipped himself up on it. He landed on his feet and looked around. Which way? Thought the fox demon as he took a look around, as he tried to get a better look at what he should see. His blue eyes turned red and his pupils shrunk into slits. Multiple paths that could be shortcuts to ones that would take him a little longer to arrive at the base of the steps. Soon, his gaze fell at the base of the stairs, causing him to smirk. There it is. He chuckled to himself before his return to being the ocean blue and his pupils returning to normal. Sometimes having demonic abilities came in handy, though he couldn't be sure what good they could be when people were afraid of him. Letting out a soft sigh, the young man jumped from the pole before he rolled onto a nearby rooftop, then made a break for it. Running quickly, Naruto looked up at the palace once again, wondering what it would be like to live up there. It had to be wonderful, to be amazing. He wanted more in his life than to just make noodles all the time. He wanted to have adventures, to see new places, and of course, to help those in need. But would they even allow that in the first place? After all, he wasn't human. What would the point be in letting a human know a demon? Who could possibly be corrupted by his own chakra by the sheer power of it be allowed to harness it in the first place? Shaking his head, the young man made his way to the stairs, quickly changing back to normal and started to climb. He had never walked up the 1,000 steps before, but knew that it would be a workout for him. Yawning softly, the young man checked the packages, happy that he was able to catch them when his tails disappeared. Letting out a soft yawn, Naruto placed a hand over his chest, where his ribs had been broken. It amazed him that Hinata was the one to tend to his broken bones. How he wished that he had been awake for that moment, but knew that it wouldn't have worked that way because his dad had learned how to use chakra to a certain point, though he wasn't a master of it. Just like how he had learned pressure points to help him relax when he was injured by those assholes in the village that thought it would make them heroes to beat up a demon. Oh, how he wished that he could have spoken to her. Stopping at the middle of the stairs, Naruto cursed himself. Damn it, all the times I meet Master Hinata and it had to be while I'm getting my ass handed to me. I must have looked so pathetic to her at that time. He groaned a little before turning around and took a seat on the stairs for a moment. How is it that I could have fucked up so badly in the first place? I could have proven myself to be a worthy man and ugh, I fucked up. Shaking his head, the young man pushed himself up onto his feet and started to walk up the stairs once again. Once he was done at the palace, he was going to head home and go to bed. Damn, he was only halfway up the stairs and he was already tired. How was it that he could get so tired in the first place? It didn't make sense to him in the first place, though he knew that there was no way that he would do this again. No freaking way. Chuckling to himself, Naruto had managed to get to the top of the stairs and yawned softly before he knocked on the large doors. The doors were large and red as crimson. Must have been one of the reasons for the name of the palace. Shrugging to himself, the young man knocked once again, and at that point, that was when he saw the doors start to move. Gulping a little, the young man took a deep breath, hoping to calm himself down. This was, after all, a place of training. A man walked out, wearing a black shirt with matching black pants and a simple green vest. He had silvery gray hair that defied gravity and wore a headband that covered his left eye, and a mask that covered half of his face from the nose down. Blinking a little, Naruto said, "I have 2 packages to deliver. One is for Master Hinata as a thank you for helping me. Another was left at my father's shop." Ah yes, Hinata mentioned that she helped a young man after getting some broken ribs. The man said with a smile before accepting the packages, though he stared at Naruto for a moment before asking, "You know, young man, you are rather different compared to others here. I don't think I see many people with two-toned hair." Naruto had no idea to take that as an insult or a compliment. Looking up at the man, the young man couldn't help but stare at the man with confusion. He felt like he had seen him before. Where was this guy from? Where had he seen him before? He had no idea, and it confused him a great deal, but it almost felt like it was in the back of his mind, like a long-forgotten memory. Sir, have I seen you?" "Nope. I had just returned not long ago into the village. I have been gone on a long journey, young man. May I ask you your name?" "I am Master Kakashi," said the older man with a smile that was still hidden in his mask. Naruto gulped a little as he said, "I'm Naruto." Master, I hope this doesn't sound rude, but are you going to pay me for delivering the 1 package?" He hoped that he wouldn't get hit in the face, but if this guy said that he had only returned a few days ago, then there was no way that he could have known about what he was, but he didn't want to risk that as of yet. Before he knew what was going on, Kakashi just chuckled a little at the blonde and crimson-haired young man. "I have something else in mind. I don't know how to pay you for such a package, Naruto, but I think I got something better, something that only a selected people may have." With that, Kakashi pulled out a ticket from his pocket and handed it to the young man. "There is a tournament coming in a few days' time. I want you to come, and you can bring someone with you if you want. I hope to see you there, young man, because we are going to be choosing our chosen warrior at long last." With that, the door closed, causing Naruto to stare in with wide eyes. They were finally going to choose their warrior. He had heard that they had waited for thousands of years for this moment. And now, it was the moment of truth, the choosing of the Furious Fox. Awesome. A few days had passed since his ribs had been broken. Even so, Naruto was glad that it happened because he would be able to go see how the Furious Fox would be chosen. Being called the greatest warrior of all time was an honor that anyone would love to have. That would be great, and now he would be there to see it all. Everyone in the town was hurrying to get to the palace to watch the warrior be chosen. Since everyone in the village was going to be there, the shop wasn't going to get any customers. But getting his father to go with him to the tournament was hard. The only thing the boy wanted was to spend time with his dad, since they were always working. He walked up to his father and said, "So, Dad, I was given this pass to go to the tournament to see the choosing of the Furious Fox, and I wanted to know if you wanted to come with me. I'm allowed to bring someone with me on the pass." He grinned at his father, hoping that Iruka would want to come with him. Almost never, or at least not very often, Iruka left the store. He almost looked like he didn't want to go anywhere, though he didn't know why. Iruka seemed to think for a moment about whether he should go or not. Naruto knew that his father didn't like to fight, but he also knew that he wasn't going to fight himself. Instead, he was just going to watch. So, what could be the harm? There was no difference at all, which made it even easier to choose. In fact, Naruto almost laughed when he saw his dad's eyes finally light up with an answer. "Okay, son, let's get something to keep us warm because it's getting cold." When Naruto thought that his father would go with him, he couldn't help but smile. It would be a great way for a father and son to spend time together. He ran back inside and went down to the basement to start going through some of the boxes that held their winter clothes, or at least the box with their fall and winter clothes mixed together. When the young man finally found the box, he opened it and took out 2 ponchos. Naruto put on his orange poncho and walked back up the stairs toward his father while grinning from ear to ear. He gave Iruka the blue and black poncho and said, "Here, Dad. I found yours." Iruka asked, "Are you ready to go, son?" As he put on his poncho, Naruto was so excited that he couldn't help but jump up and down, wishing they could leave already. After all, it was a long way up the mountain. "Yeah, I'm ready when you are, Dad," answered Naruto with a big grin on his face. He was looking forward to it and hoped it would be fun. The boy laughed to himself as he and his father left the shop and headed toward the 1,000 stairs that led to the palace. As they walked, the young man couldn't help but think about who would be the warrior in the end. He thought it was Hinata as he looked up at the sky with a soft smile on his face. She was a strong fighter with amazing skills and abilities. She would have made a great choice for the role of the Furious Fox. As he thought about her, he let out a soft, dreamy sigh and his face turned a little pink. Beautiful blue hair, Iruka asked him with a laugh, thinking about someone, son, which made Naruto blush a little, of course. How did his father know everything about him? Naruto turned away because he wanted to get rid of the pink on his cheeks, but he knew he couldn't, at least not right away. Naruto, do you still think about Master Hinata? You've only met her twice. Haven't you grown out of that crush? Naruto's cheeks turned even redder before he looked down. I don't think so, Dad, but I can't help it. She's an amazing warrior, and she was so nice to help me the other day. No matter what, he couldn't stop thinking about it. After all, it was something he wished he could have seen the whole time he was awake. He was knocked out, which was sad, so she could heal his ribs or at least fix his cuts. Taking a deep breath, Naruto looked up at his father saying, besides Dad, I don't think she'll like me anyway. After all, she's a highly classed warrior, I'm a lowly noodle guy. Iruka said with a big smile, don't put yourself down, Naruto. Any girl would be lucky to have you in her life. Too bad no one else thought of that. To be honest, Naruto thought he would spend his very long life alone, going from village to village, hoping to start over every time he moved and have a normal life, until people started to think he was too young to be his age. He knew that demons lived much longer than humans, and he was terrified that one day he would live longer than his father. Naruto took a deep breath and said, I don't think any woman would want to be with me, Dad. Who wants to be with someone who can live longer than them? Iruka looked at Naruto for a moment and then smiled softly at him. Son, it isn't about the amount of time you have with someone, it's how special the time was. Naruto thought about that. He wasn't sure if it was true or not. Honestly, he didn't know if that was true. The only thing he knew was that no one would ever want to be with him because they're all just afraid of me, thought the young man before letting out a soft sigh. Yawning softly, Naruto and his father were able to get front row seats. It made him wonder what it was that they were going to see. Who would fight and who would they fight? It was a lot of fun, but what made it even more fun? When the young man looked around, he couldn't help but notice how many people were here, so many people from the village, maybe all of them. He didn't know, but he did know that things were about to get exciting. When Naruto turned to his father, he saw that Iruka seemed just as happy as he did, just leaning back with his arms crossed over his chest, and a smile on his face. Naruto smiled brightly and turned back to the arena. It was huge, that was for sure. 4 or 6 people could fight there without anyone getting in the way. That was definitely pretty interesting. People were already sitting on the benches, but Naruto could easily tell that everyone was looking at him with hate and fear. Why don't they understand that I don't want to hurt them? Naruto sighed and shook his head as he thought this. No, he wasn't going to let them ruin his day. Instead, he was going to make sure he enjoyed everything about it. Nothing, and he means nothing, was going to ruin this for him. After all, it wasn't every day that you got invited to the palace just for bringing them their mail. Soon, people began to walk into the arena. The invitation came from the man with silver hair. He walked out into the middle of the arena with his one eye closed, making it look like he was smiling or at least giving an eye smile. He had no idea, to be honest. Welcome everyone. Today is truly a wonderful day for a tournament. Everyone cheered, though a few whispered as if wondering who the man was. Let me introduce myself. I'm Master Kakashi of Thunder and Lightning. As soon as he said that, Naruto stared at him with wide eyes. No way, it was the Master Kakashi. He had heard that the man was the only one who could control thunder and lightning, that he had been on the Grand Council, and that he was born and raised in Konoha. He had been gone for at least 20 or 30 years, but now he's back. But why? Kakashi chuckled a little as he held up his hand, hoping to calm down the crowd as they started to murmur to themselves. Listen up, everyone. As we speak, Grandmaster Hiruzen is preparing the 5 masters who may be the chosen warrior who will get the name Furious Fox and be the hero who saves the world from a new evil. This made everyone curious. What bad thing could he be referring to? Even though there had never been a great evil, Naruto soon noticed that everyone was looking at him. Did they really think he was evil to want to attack everyone? Come, as you all know, we have been waiting for thousands of years for the warrior to be chosen. Each Grandmaster has been trained to be able to choose the warrior. Now is the moment of truth, or at least it will be soon. While we wait, we will have an exhibition match. One of our masters will fight someone in the audience, Kakashi said with a smile that could be seen through his mask. To be honest, Naruto was kind of interested in who they were going to fight, or who would fight against the master. The young man leaned back and laughed softly as he thought about who was going to fight and who they would fight. Inhaling softly, Kakashi turned to his left and waved his hand toward a tightly clad man in green. He had bowl-shaped hair and thick eyebrows that made people wonder how in the world he could see with them so thick. The man wore a simple cloth belt and what looked like orange leg warmers and blue sandals with his toes open out to the air around them. Kakashi spoke to the man, though it was too quiet for them to hear what it was that they were saying. Even Naruto's keen hearing couldn't pick up what it was that they were saying. Maybe it was because everyone was talking quietly to themselves. The man with the bowl cut nodded his head and stood next to Kakashi with his arms crossed. He then gave everyone a thumbs up and a big smile that almost looked like it was glittering in the dim light. He had no idea how that was even possible. "Alright everyone, Master Guy, the master of strength, and the power of youth," shouted Guy, causing Kakashi to smack his forehead. Naruto had heard a lot of people slap their foreheads. Now that he thought about it, how come everyone was slapping their heads? Haven't they, unlike him, heard of Guy? He might have thought it made sense, but who was he to say? Shaking his head, the young man listened to what more it was that Kakashi was going to say about Guy. "Now, as I was saying, Guy is going to be the master that any one of you will be fighting. I hope that the fight will be enjoyable, though because not a lot of people know how to fight. I have ordered Guy to take it easy on you all." Guy shouted again, "The power of youth will win." And everyone slapped their heads. Naruto just sighed softly and then leaned back in his chair, wondering who will be chosen. "Okay, everyone who got a special invitation, look at your cards and you'll see a number. The number that is called will fight Master Guy." Kakashi took out a card and looked at the number. Naruto tilted his head, wondering. Waiting. "Number 10, you will be fighting Master Guy." Naruto heard a lot of people groaning. Did they want to fight him? He shrugged and looked at his card. The only words that came out of his mouth were, "Holy shit." Everyone was looking at Naruto, both with surprise and, of course, hate. Why couldn't they stop staring at him for a while? Can't there be a day when he doesn't have to deal with their looks? Not one single day. That was a very mean thing to do, and he had to pay for it. Letting out a soft sigh, the young man pushed himself up onto his feet before he pulled off his poncho and set it down. Aruka grabbed his hand and told him, "Naruto, you don't have to do this. Please don't fight. Don't worry, Dad. You know how strong I am, and I can handle this," Naruto said with a small smile. He knew that he could still feel pain, but at least he could allow himself to dull it enough so he wouldn't have to deal with any of the pain that would be coursing through his entire being. Gulping a little, Naruto tried to get himself to relax. He knew that this was going to be difficult since he didn't really know how to fight, but knew that this was going to happen. He wasn't going to be called a coward along with being called a monster. Looking up, he stared at Guy as he just gave him a calm stare. It seemed that the older man was trying to think on what it was that he would face while fighting the young man. Naruto took a deep breath and said calmly, "I hope we have a good fight, Master Guy." He tried to smile, but he looked kind of scared. Yet, he knew that he would have to be prepared for anything that was going to happen to him, no matter how much pain that went through his body. "Fighters ready," shouted Kakashi, before he looked between the two fighters, only to add fight. Naruto looked over at Guy, watching as the master rushed at the young man with such speed. He didn't know how Guy could move so quickly, but he guessed that he must have practiced a lot. But Naruto should have seen what happened next coming, because he got punched in the face. It sent the young man flying back a little, and he landed on his back. He slowly got to his feet, rubbed his face, and pushed himself up. "Oh," he moaned a little. He looked up and saw Guy running toward him. Naruto slammed his foot into the young man's stomach. The blow knocked the air out of Naruto's lungs. Guy jumped back when Naruto yelled "Gah!" and rolled onto his side to try to catch his breath. How did this make things easier for him? Someone in the crowd yelled, "Yes, Master Guy. Get that monster." Naruto just wanted to sigh, though he was trying to get himself to relax, tried to get his breathing in order though. He wasn't sure if he would be able to do even that. Naruto spat on the ground as he tried to stand back up. Guy hadn't rushed for him, so it seemed that he at least had some honor for the man though. He couldn't be sure, but he was going to find out. When the young man stood up, he said in a calm voice, "That's all you've got." He then wheezed. Guy yelled at Naruto, "You are not worthy of your youth. You are weak. You are not a true holder of the fiery passion of youth." As he ran toward Naruto, all Naruto could think was that this wasn't going to be fun. Then again, when was ever getting your ass kicked fun? He had no idea that it would be fun for him, and he never thought it would be. Naruto yelled, "Bring it." As he watched Guy run toward him, the young fox demon knew he would have to be ready for the pain that was coming. Narrowing his eyes, the young man went to punch Guy, only for Naruto to yelp and cry out in pain as Guy punched and kicked at Naruto. The young fox demon took hit after hit. It was something that made no sense to the young man, though he knew that he was a lot stronger than people thought. He only knew that it hurt a lot to take all of the hits. In fact, Guy's hits seemed to be getting stronger and stronger. He didn't know how this was even possible. Naruto had a bruised face and an eye that was swollen. Even though he knew things would only get worse, he fell to his knees and coughed up some blood. He was getting hurt more quickly than he was getting better. "May the power of youth forgive you," said Guy before kicking Naruto up into the air. Naruto screamed in pain as he went flying through the air. He wanted this to be different. He wanted to have been able to fight back, but damn it, he couldn't react quickly enough. He hadn't been this hurt since he was a kid and someone hit him in the behind. Before he knew it, he fell through the roof of the palace and hit the ground hard, making him groan in pain. "Hey, you okay?" asked a female's voice. Naruto groaned again, and when he opened his eyes and looked up, he saw the lavender eyes of the woman of his dreams. "Master Hinata," she asked with a frown, "how did you fall through the roof and not hurt yourself more?" "Hinata, who is that?" came an older man's voice, causing Naruto to look up a little more. An old man with short white hair and a small beard that only reached his chin was standing there. His eyes were kind, but they were full of knowledge. Naruto knew right away that it was Hiruzen, the Grandmaster. "Are you all right?" he asked. Naruto nodded and took a deep breath as he pushed himself up. The pain was surging through his body, but he knew that this was going to last for a little while. "I'm sorry, I'll be on my way. I'm fighting Master Guy." Bowing to the masters, the young man walked out of the palace and made his way back to the arena. It was impossible for this man to get away with the beating he got. No, Naruto was going to have to be on his best behavior before this got out of hand and before he had one of his blackouts. He could not take that chance again. When he passed out the last time, it still kept him up at night. The kids had been hurt badly and would be scarred for life because of what had happened. Naruto closed his eyes for a moment and then began to walk toward the arena. Even though he was still on his feet and walking back to them, he could hear people cheering that Master Guy had defeated the monster. Nope, he wasn't going to go down that easily. He wasn't going to be pushed around ever again. He was going to show them all that he wasn't weak. Naruto never wanted to be called the weak demon again. He walked back to the arena and growled, "I hope you had fun, Master Guy, because I'm not going to hold back. I'm not going to be your personal punching bag again." Guy turned to stare at Naruto and started to take notice of some changes, mostly his demeanor. Naruto gave a glare, and his demonic aura and fangs grew. As his pupils turned into slits, the whiskers on his face started to get thicker. The young man was no longer playing around. He really wanted to win this time. Growling, the young fox rushed forward with a speed that rivaled Guy's. Guy almost didn't see it coming when Naruto kicked him in the side, sending the man in green into a wall. Everyone stared in shock and awe, never knowing that Naruto could have this much strength in him before. Naruto narrowed his blue eyes at Guy before he built up more of his demonic aura, as if hoping that he would be able to take him down. Still, he had a thought that scared him and made him happy at the same time. It told him to kill Guy, but he sort of pushed those ideas out of his mind. Naruto moved toward the man and got ready to dig his claws into his skin. Growling along the way, Naruto felt his power increasing and growing as he felt the desire to kill course through his very body. Picking up the man by his shirt, Naruto said, "Enjoy your last day." He held up his hand. It glowed with red chakra as he prepared to finish him off, only to see in the crowd his father staring at him with a great deal of fear and concern. The thought of his father staring at him like that, it broke his heart. Why did he act this way? Just because people were scared and hated him? Because he was getting the snot beaten out of him? No, he wasn't going to be the monster that they all thought he was. Never, he couldn't and wouldn't allow that to happen to him. The chakra disappeared from his fist, and he settled for a simple punch that just knocked Guy onto his back. He gave a soft sigh and said, "I win." He then started to go back to his father, but was stopped by a voice. He is. Turning to the entrance of the palace, stood Grandmaster Hiruzen, alongside the other masters. What had they been up to? Who were they talking about? Naruto cocked his head to the side and looked around, trying to figure out who they were looking at, but nothing came to mind. Naruto turned around and asked the older man, "Who are you talking about? Who is he?" "You. You are the warrior we've been waiting for. You, the furious fox." At that point, everyone, including Naruto and his father, screamed out the same thing. What? Naruto could only stare at the older man as he stared at him. His black eyes showed that he was wise and sure of what he said. "Grandmaster Hiruzen, you must be mistaken. My son and I are only noodle folk." "How could he be the furious fox?" asked Haruka as he made his way over to his son. Naruto turned to his father because he knew that the blackouts were what worried him the most. If Naruto ended up being a warrior, his life would be in danger, and therefore he would black out more often and could end up killing someone. If not worse, one of the 5 would be one of the victims. Hiruzen turned to the man with brown hair and said, "I am not mistaken, sir. I never am. Your son is the warrior of legend, the warrior of the great prophecy." This made Naruto and his father confused, because why would Naruto be the chosen warrior? It didn't make sense, since there had to be other fighters who were better than him. "But sir, I just can't be a warrior. I have problems that happen when I'm in danger," Naruto said, hoping that would be enough to get them to reconsider their choice. Even though he wanted to be a great warrior, He couldn't because he was afraid of what would happen. The fight back in the shop, that was just to protect his father, not to mention the bandits were nothing compared to his strength. Even then, he held back because he was afraid of using his full strength on humans. Any problems that you may have, young man, it can be solved through meditation. But there is still no doubt about who you are. You can use chakra, not just anyone can use it without losing control over themselves, calmly said Hiruzen with a small yet kind smile. It's true, you have a lot of chakra that only a true master would have. You need to learn how to fight with us, a woman said, making Naruto turn and look at the blue-haired woman who had won his heart so long ago. As she walked toward the young man, he gulped and his face turned a little pink. Her pale lavender eyes caught him and held him still as she smiled at him. There was no hate or fear in her eyes, just pure happiness and joy. Please, you must join us. You could learn to harness that chakra for good. He would have asked, where do I sign up? If he could have. But he knew he couldn't take the chance. The risk was still far too great for his liking. He could lose control. He could black out and hurt someone again. Not to mention the fact that they might find out he was a fox demon. Huh, thought Naruto. That's kind of funny. He shook his head and stared at the Grandmaster and Hinata. I'm sorry, but I still say you have the wrong man. I'm just a noodle man. I work with my dad and not to mention, I'm a klutz. I find it hard to believe that, Kakashi said as he walked over to the young man with blonde and red hair. Naruto just frowned at him, wondering what it was that he meant by that. It was clear that he was a klutz. He would trip on the smallest of things if he wasn't being careful. Just last week, he tripped on a root that had broken through the stone at the shop and spilled soup all over himself. Even yesterday, he lost his balance and fell over on his side. It was mostly due to him having to hide his tails so he would look human, but without his tails. He lost a great deal of his balance, though had at least learned a bit to live with it for the time being. Naruto frowned and asked, what do you mean? Kakashi just smiled a little and patted Naruto on the shoulder before he laughed again. I was by the shop when those bandits came. I was going to go in and fight them off, but you handled them with some skill. He stared at Naruto with his only visible eye as he added, you may say you're a klutz, but you do have talent that needs to be nurtured, and you are to be trained at once. Do not worry, you will be taught the early stages of control before we do some serious training. Kakashi answered with kindness before he flicked his wrist, causing some of the guards to grab Naruto and drag him toward the palace. Naruto yelled, stop it. I'm not the furious fox, damn it. Can't believe that monster was chosen. If he learns how to fight, he'll kill us all, said one of the men in the crowd, causing Iruka to stare at them. Naruto knew that his father didn't like it when people called him a monster. What surprised him, though, was how much chakra Kakashi was giving off. Kakashi's chakra seemed like he was angered by everyone's words. Their hate, their fear, it only fueled the man's hate as he called out to the crowd. That's enough. No one can call him a monster. If I hear anyone calling him that, you'll have to call the palace. He's the furious fox, and he's supposed to save the village. With that, Kakashi, Hiruzen, and the other masters started walking toward the palace. Before Kakashi left, he looked at Iruka and said, don't worry, I'll take care of your son. You've done everything you need to do to raise him. Now, let me do what I must. The gray-haired man then walked toward the palace, leaving a very confused Iruka behind. The brown-haired man wondered if his son would be okay and prayed to the gods that no one died because of his blackouts. Kakashi made his way over to Hiruzen, who sat by the sacred peach tree. He knew that this was where the master went to help clear his mind. There was no doubt that Naruto was the chosen warrior of the great prophecy, though Kakashi had no idea what was even written for it. Only the Grandmaster would know, and he could only tell the people he thinks deserve to know. Grandmaster, what will happen? Naruto had only been in the palace for a few hours and he refuses to leave his room. He won't learn. That is to be expected. In a way, we had forcibly removed him from his home and taken him away from his father and only known family member, Hiruzen said with a soft sigh before he turned to the gray-haired man. Kakashi, answer me this. How did you know that he would have been the chosen warrior before I met him? Kakashi knew that this was going to happen. It was something that he never really spoke to him about, though Kakashi knew what it was that had to happen in the future but couldn't share that yet. Not yet. But he could share something. Inhaling deeply, Kakashi went on with how he knew. I had just returned to the village. I was in my old house packing up some of my things that I had left there. Closing his eyes for a moment, he was trying to think on how to say his next few words. Inhaling softly, the gray-haired man went on. Naruto was dropping off a package for me, and I stayed in the shadows because I didn't know who he was. It was something I had kept secret from even myself for a long time, and I had it mailed to the village so it would be here when I returned. When I met him, I just saw something special about him. I know he is meant for many great things and just had to tell you, Master. Hiruzen just stared at Kakashi for a moment. The Master of Thunder couldn't just look at his master and hope that he would figure out that there was more to his story, more that he wasn't ready to share yet. It would stay with him for as long as he could until the time was right. Alright Kakashi, I shall take your word for now, but I hope someday you tell the boy at the very least about what it is that you are hiding from him. Wait, how did you? Hiruzen laughed and said, I'm a grandmaster, Kakashi. I know you're hiding something with your chakra. Then he turned away and looked up at the sky again. May I ask, sir, what is the prophecy? Kakashi asked. The Grandmaster seemed silent. It almost seemed like he would not answer Kakashi's question. In fact, the young man was about to leave, thinking that he wouldn't be answered. Letting out a soft sigh, Kakashi started to walk away, until Hiruzen's voice stopped him dead in his tracks. Once, someone thought they were a hero. It later becomes a monster. The people thought that it had a heart colder than Sub-Zero. The people fear that it was just an imposter. A human thought to be a monster, and becomes a hero. After seeing how the people could prosper, the once thought monster is no longer a zero. People thought the monster was bad. It turns out the monster is one with a soul, not a devil. It has a heart so pure that he would defeat the once great hero. To have such pureness in order to cure, one must be as pure as Shiro. But his heart is at risk of turning to darkness. As it continues to live in fear and hate, it will eventually become heartless. If it doesn't feel love or compassion, it will surely meet its fate. Monster's plight. It shall fall into darkness and destroy the world, or it may save it with light. Kakashi frowned a little as he listened to what it was that the Grand Master had said to him. It almost sounded like Naruto could end up destroying the world if he wasn't shown some kind of light. He didn't know, but he was worried about the safety of the young man. If this got out of hand, he would have to make sure Jiraiya didn't do anything that would put the boy in danger. Bowing to the Grand Master, Kakashi calmly said, Do not worry, Master. I will make sure that Naruto saves the world. After all, there is still the chance that he will end up saving the world instead of destroying it, right? To be honest, he was a little scared that Naruto would end up destroying the world. In fact, he had no idea what would cause him to even go that far to the darkness. Due to worry. What do you think it means? What kind of fear would be strong enough to send him to the dark? So, he thought there must be a way to figure out when the right time was. For now though, he would just have to set up the training for Naruto. At the end of the day, the young man had a long way to go before the world would need him. He just hoped it wouldn't happen too quickly. If it was too soon, then there would be no hope for anyone, for the village, or for Naruto. Kakashi closed his eyes for a brief moment before he started to make his way back into the palace. Right now was a time for sleep. Today had been a long day, that was for sure. Naruto lay in his room and didn't think for a second that he would ever be here. Though, he knew that he would ever be here, let alone be chosen as the Furious Fox. That was something that had surprised him, but still, he had just been taken away from his father, his shop, his life, everything that he had ever known. He was scared that he would never be able to live like that again. Letting out a soft yet sad sigh, the young man rolled over on his futon. It wasn't much of a bed, though he knew that he had to do something. Anything, really, to take his mind off of all the problems that had started to show up in his life. Letting out a soft sigh, the young man pushed himself to sit up before he looked out the window in his room. It was dark, and he might feel better if he went for a walk in the moonlight. At least he should be the only one outside. Everyone, from what he could hear, and everyone's soft breathing told him that they were sound asleep. Taking a deep breath, the young man started to walk out of his room and started to make his way down the hall. The young man didn't really know what else was here, but he hoped that when he wasn't forced to train, there would be something interesting to do. Yawning against the back of his hand, the young man made his way out of the palace and sniffed the air. He could smell clean water. He could use a drink, so that would be promising for him. Chuckling, he made his way toward the scent, just hoping that there was even a place for him to relax. He never understood why, but the waterfalls, or at least the sound of them, and the mist that they produced, it always helped to calm him down. Not as much as ramen, at least. I'll have to find a way to get some ramen, he said to himself before he started to power walk over to the waterfall. Yet what he saw made him stare in awe. He looked at a person who was in the shadows, the light of the full moon only outlining the figure as they moved with the waterfall. He could tell that the person was a woman from what he could see. No man has breasts, after all. Well, not the thin ones at least. Face turning a slight pink, the young man just stared. The figure would jump in the air, moving her hands and feet like she was dancing. Her movements, they were so graceful, and flowed like an ever-flowing river. He almost seemed like he was being hypnotized by her. Everything she did, it just seemed so perfect. The water would spray around her. Droplets of water would cling to her, fly around her as she moved. Twirling around, she sliced the water her hand, or even jabbed them with her fingertips. Trying to get himself to breathe, Naruto wanted to walk toward the mystery woman. But at the same time he didn't want to get closer to her. He thought that if he did, she would get mad and he would get beat up. The young man closed his eyes for a second and then went back to watching the show. She jumped in the air, flipping in the air and landed on a rock that resided on the water. She never lost her balance. Her long hair was pulled back into a low ponytail, perhaps so it wouldn't stick to her face. Tilting his head, he took a step forward, wanting to see who it was, wanting to see just who this mystery woman was. Because, for some reason, she seems familiar to him. How it was, he had no idea, though he just hoped that he figured out who it was before he got his ass handed to him. Soon, the moon's light soon reached the woman, her figure coming into full view. It was then that he saw who it was. Honestly, he was surprised because he thought everyone was sleeping. Why would she of all people be outside, when everyone honestly was supposed to be sleeping right now? He yelled, "Hinata," and then quickly covered his mouth, hoping he hadn't just given himself away. "Who's there?" came her voice, causing her to turn towards the scared man. She walked toward Naruto. Her body was wet from training, and he could see water drops falling off of it. She was at least fully dressed. His heart rate was going up, and he didn't think he would have been able to calm down. As the blue-haired woman got closer to him, his face turned more and more red. Hinata said with a smile, "Oh, you're Naruto, right?" It seemed that she didn't notice where she looked. In her very, very wet clothes. As he took a step forward, Naruto nodded and said, "Yeah, I'm Naruto. It's nice to meet you." As he said the last word, he slipped on the wet grass and ran into Hinata. Both adults fell to the ground, but Hinata wouldn't have cared much because she was already wet. But what Naruto didn't know was that he was now laying on something soft. Groaning, he pushed himself up, grabbing onto the soft yet firm thing, wondering what the hell it was, until he heard Hinata's voice. "Can you let go of my breast?" she asked in a soft voice. Naruto looked down and stared at her in shock. He looked down at what he was holding, and it was her breast, just like she had said. Yelping, Naruto got up as quickly as he could and his face was bright red. "Oh God, I'm so very sorry. I wasn't trying to do that. I swear on all that is holy I wasn't trying to do that," Naruto shouted, his face growing redder and redder. He couldn't deny that he liked having something so big and soft in his hands, but damn it, he didn't mean to hurt Hinata in that way. Maybe when he found a wife, yeah, but not to Master Hinata of all people. Hinata said, "It's okay, the grass is wet," with a soft smile on her face. Naruto was shocked when he saw her. To be honest, he thought she was going to beat him or give him his behind on a silver platter. She didn't seem to be like the other people in the village, though. He laughed a little and then let out a soft, sad sigh before turning away. Hinata said with a frown, "How about we talk? You look like you need a friend." He looked over at her for a moment before nodding. Hinata led the young man to a tree because she wanted to make him feel more at ease and so they could sit somewhere dry. Once they sat by a tree, Naruto leaned back as he tried to get himself to relax a little. Breathing a little deeply, the young man turned to Hinata, seeing that she had a kind and gentle smile on her face. "So, tell me what's troubling you, Naruto?" Hinata asked softly. Letting out a soft sigh, he started to say his story. "I'm a klutz. I have slight problems with my balance with my birth defect," he said, looking away as he did so. The young woman frowned a little as she stared at him, as if wondering what it is that he meant about that since he looked so normal. "I'm worried about what will happen during training. What if I'm close to getting killed? I black out and when that happens, I turn into a monster." He pulled his knees to his face as he tried to hide from all of his troubles, hide all the pain that went through his heart when he thought about it. "Only my father could get me out of that. No one else could, because they all hate me. They hate and fear me because of that, and I don't want to hurt anyone. I want to help and protect them, like I did for my father at his shop one day." He bit his lip, feeling the blood run between his teeth and onto his tongue. Soon, he felt a hand on his shoulder, which made him look over at Hinata, who was just smiling at him in a kind way. "I don't see a monster. I see a kind man. If you were a monster, you would have attacked me, but I would have killed Guy. I had lost myself, Hinata. If I didn't see my father, saw the fear and concern, I would have killed Guy. I am a monster. I'm not like everyone." Hinata pulled Naruto close, and he blushed a little. He didn't know what to think, but when he felt her breasts again, it almost made him bleed from the nose. "Naruto, you just lost control of your chakra. That's what took over you. Don't worry, I'll look out for you. If you want, I'll try to stop those blackouts of yours so you won't hurt anyone." She said this with a big smile, which made Naruto blush again. How was it that her words could have helped him to relax already? Besides, I know what it's like, Naruto. In a way, I have two different personalities. The one you see now is how I normally am. When I'm in a battle, I'm a different person that it's almost scary. So don't worry. We will look out for each other. Naruto gave her a gentle smile as he said, "Thank you, Hinata, for listening. The only person to know this was my dad. He chuckled a little before looking up at the sky. The young man didn't think he had ever been this happy before. Even though he didn't know what else to expect, he knew that his life was about to change. The young man closed his eyes and kept leaning against Hinata until he heard her soft words, which snapped him out of his trance. What are friends for Naruto? Now, we should head back inside and get some sleep for training tomorrow. With that, she patted his shoulder before pulling himself back up and giggled a little before she started to make her way back inside. But Naruto couldn't help but stand there and stare in shock and amazement. He thought that Hinata said what he thought she said. There was no way that he could have heard her right, though he had to be sure. Maybe tomorrow. But he was just going to enjoy a few things for now. First of all, he had touched something that he never thought he would touch in his whole life. A soft blush was on his face before he looked back up at the sky with a big goofy grin on his face. Before he went inside, Naruto thought, Hinata is my friend. I finally have a friend.
I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.